My dad abandoned me for his new family and only showed up when I got stage 3 cancer to ease his guilt. He was crying when I disowned him publicly. When I was 6, my dad left me and mom for his secretary Tanya. Just packed up one day and moved across town like we were an old apartment he'd outgrown. The custody agreement said every other weekend, but that lasted maybe 2 months before Tanya got pregnant, and suddenly dad was too busy with his real family to pick me up. I'd sit by the window with my overnight bag until mom would quietly put it away and make us hot chocolate instead. By the time I was 8, I only saw him at my grandparents' house during holidays. He'd show up with Tanya and their twins, matching outfits and professional photos on his phone of their trips to Disney and the beach. He'd ruffle my hair and ask about school like we were distant relatives, then spend the rest of the visit playing with the twins while I watched from the couch. Grandma would try to include me, but dad would say I was too old for baby games. When I turned 13, I stopped going to family events if he'd be there. Mom never pushed it. She'd remarried by then to Paul, who actually showed up to my soccer games and helped with homework. Paul never tried to be my dad, but he was there, which was more than my actual father managed. I graduated high school without dad in the audience, got into college without his help, started my career without his advice, built a whole life where his absence was just background noise I'd learned to ignore. Then at 28, I collapsed at work. The diagnosis came fast and brutal. Stage 3 lymphoma, aggressive type, needed immediate treatment. The doctors were optimistic but honest about what I was facing. Months of chemo, radiation, the whole nightmare. Mom was at the hospital within an hour. Paul canceled a business trip. My friends set up a meal rotation. Everyone circled around me except the one person who'd been circling away my whole life, until grandma told him. Then suddenly dad discovered he had a daughter. He showed up at the hospital with flowers and tears, talking about how he'd been waiting for the right time to reconnect, and this was a sign we needed each other. 22 years of absence, and now he wanted to play father because I might die. He started coming to every appointment, sat through every chemo session reading me stories like I was 5 again. He actually told Tanya he was spending nights at the hospital instead of home. She called me selfish for taking him from their children, his real children, but dad kept coming. He'd hold my hand while I puked, shave his head when I lost my hair, bring me soup from this place we used to go when I was little. He cried about all the time we'd lost, how much he regretted choosing Tanya's ultimatum over me, how he'd spent years thinking I was better off without him messing up my life. He said the diagnosis woke him up to what really mattered. Every day he'd tell me he loved me and he was so sorry for everything. For 3 months I let him play devoted father, let him ease his guilt while poison dripped into my veins. I was too tired to fight, and some pathetic part of me that still remembered being 6 wanted to believe him. The treatment worked. The scans came back clear. The doctor said I'd beaten it for now, would need monitoring but could start rebuilding my life. Dad was there when they delivered the news, sobbing with relief, promising we'd make up for lost time now that I was getting better. That night I was home in my apartment, finally feeling human again, when dad texted, said he was so happy I was better and he'd check in next week, but Tanya needed him to focus on the twins' school situation. A week became a month. The text stopped. He missed my follow-up appointments. When I called, Tanya answered and said he was busy with his actual responsibilities now that the crisis was over. 6 months later, at grandma's birthday, dad showed up with his perfect family again. He tried to hug me like nothing had happened, started to say how good I looked, how proud he was of my strength, how our experience had brought us closer. That's when I lost it. In front of everyone, I told him exactly what kind of father he was. A coward who needed me to be dying to pretend he cared. A man so weak he let his second wife erase his first child until cancer made him look bad. I told him those 3 months of him playing daddy meant nothing, because I knew he'd disappear the second I wasn't dying anymore, and I was right. The twins were staring at me. Tanya was calling me ungrateful. Dad was crying, saying I didn't understand the position he'd been in, how Tanya had made him choose. I laughed, actually laughed. Full story on channel, link below.